Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. My name is Vanessa, and we're going to be talking about Microsoft Clipchamp, which we just released last week, I think, as our official video editing tool. With me today, I have Josh Gorel, who's our O365 product manager, and he's going to be a fly on the wall during this presentation, but he'll certainly be around to answer any questions you might have in the chat. So if you see his name, I just wanted you to know who he was. And I also have Bridget McFadden, my colleague in ITS Communications, who will also be helping me monitor the chat and just make sure everything is going very smoothly during today's presentation. Before we begin, I just want to let everyone know I am recording today's session. So later on, I'll send you a follow-up email with a link to the recording that you can review at any time or even share with some of your colleagues who may not have been able to attend. And I'll send you some links to guides on how to use Clipchamp that you can refer to whenever you'd like. We also are expecting quite a few people to sign in to today's session. I do have everybody on mute, but if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or you can even raise your hand to come off mic. I just have everyone muted to prevent any distracting background noise. But let us get started. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. And Bridget, can you confirm that you can see this in the slideshow mode right now?
Yes, confirmed. Looks good.
Perfect. All right, let us learn about Clipchamp today. What is Clipchamp? Like I mentioned, it's our official Microsoft video editing app. And really, there are lots of video editing apps out there. Some are quite complicated with lots of bells and whistles. But Clipchamp was really designed for people who are very new, brand new, or have a little bit of experience in video editing. It's got lots of drag and drop features, for example, just to make things a little bit simpler for people who don't do this every day and are just learning. And to create videos, it's pretty easy. You're just going to take a combination of assets. By assets, I mean things like videos, of course, but also images, sound, text, different special effects, whatever you can think of that makes sense for your own video project. You're going to put them together and then export that as a file that people can watch. And because Microsoft knows that you are likely a beginner who doesn't have access to necessarily, camera equipment or other professional video editing tools, there are options within Clipchamp to access high quality stock video and images and even sounds that you can add that you may not have yourself. So that's always a really great feature. There are lots of reasons why you might want to make a video, and I put a few up on the screen, but I think the biggest thing that you should consider is that video is all about connecting to people anywhere they are. I'm sure that you're like this person on screen where maybe on your way to work, you're on the train and you just pull up your phone and watch something quick on YouTube or on your social media, wherever. Video is a really engaging medium, and you may decide that you want to use that to communicate to, students, other colleagues, whoever it is that needs to get your message. Video is a really great way to do that. And like I mentioned, there's a ton of video editing softwares, and none of them are perfect. So here are just a few pros and cons of Clipchamp versus other things that are out there. Great things about Clipchamp are that you can create high resolution videos, 1080p. They look really nice. And also, Clipchamp is free as part of your O365 account. So you're not gonna make a request to ITS to get a license or even request access. You're just gonna log into your account and use it whenever you'd like. Like I mentioned before, we also have those stock images and video that you can pull at any time to add them to your video project. And because you can access Clipchamp in your O365 account, that technically means you can access it anywhere you have internet. So whether you are on campus, working from home, working from a cafe, working in another country, as long as you have internet access, you can certainly make your video anywhere you'd like. And because this is part of Microsoft, Clipchamp can be integrated with various different apps. when I export my videos, I can save them really easily to OneDrive or SharePoint, and that's secured in the cloud. There are also options to share via Teams or, through Outlook with your colleagues. You can even pop these into PowerPoint presentations. So really, the Microsoft integration is a great asset that other video editing tools don't have. There are some cons. Like I said, not every video editing software is perfect. If you're looking for something a little more advanced with more bells and whistles, like things you'd see in Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere Pro, that necessarily is not going to be in Clipchamp. But again, if you're new to creating videos, you're probably not going to need all of those features to customize a video. So I would recommend starting with Clipchamp, growing your skills, and seeing where you go from there. You also have the option to do webcam and screen recordings, but the duration is limited to 30 minutes. Personally, I don't know if that's a con. I think that 30 minutes is a huge amount of time to just be sitting there recording your webcam. And you would likely take small clips and then edit them anyway, just to make sure your video doesn't feel like it's dragging. So we'll get into that in just a bit, but do be aware that that duration exists. And in my experience, the rendering has been a little finicky. I've actually had a lot of good luck with it recently while I was making videos, but I have found that sometimes I have to ask Clipchamp a couple times to export my video. I did find a forum about things you can do to prevent that from happening. Maybe I had too many apps open and things like that. That happens with other video editing software tools as well, but just keep that in mind when you are creating your videos in Clipchamp. And then because you might be new to video editing, I do have some tips for you just outside of using Clipchamp. Really, if you're totally new to video editing, I really recommend taking a look at videos you really like and finding out what it is you like about them. And maybe you can emulate some of those things within your own videos. For example, if you're making a tutorial, look at tutorial videos that kind of speak to you and see how you can edit your videos in the same way. And also start with what you have. I don't necessarily think if you're brand new to this that you should go out and buy the most expensive camera equipment or microphones that you can get. You can just use your phone. We all have smartphones now and they have camera capabilities. You can certainly use that to start with and just play around with Clipchamp and see what you can do. And again, you've got that stock image, that stock footage that you can always grab to help you out. I always recommend creating a shot list. Really just, it could just be written on a piece of paper. What are the shots that you think you want in your video? That really helps you determine what it is you need. So you're not just getting random footage and then decide you don't need it later and you kind of waste some time. And always, like I mentioned with the 30-minute duration, I think that's very long. You really want videos a lot of times to be punchier. So really try to avoid those awkward pauses or edit them out if they are in a video. There's actually a really cool AI feature in Clipchamp that finds those awkward pauses and recommends you to take them out. So we'll see that in just a bit. And also just practice, just make videos as much as you can. We also have really great resources just for you to learn more about Clipchamp or video editing in general. LinkedIn Learning, Skillsoft. I personally always use YouTube just to look at something that I don't know how to do. There's always a guy out there on YouTube who makes a video about it, and it's so helpful. So really just take advantage of the tools that you have to just learn more about video editing. In terms of getting access to Clipchamp, really easy. There are a few ways. One is to log into your O365 account, which is what I'm going to be demonstrating today since pretty much everyone has access to it. There's also a direct link at app.clipchamp.com, and you would log in with your work account. So make sure you click that option when you're logging in. And for those who have PCs, there's actually a desktop app in Windows that you can download and use Clipchamp. So those are all of the different ways that you can access, and we're going to be going through O365 right now. So let me head on over. Bridget, are there any questions that I can answer while I'm switching my screen?
Sure. One from our friend Michaela. He's wondering, can you join multiple clips or is 30 minutes the total allowed time?
Oh, the 30-minute duration is just for, you're going to see an option when I'm demonstrating about recording from your own webcam or screen recording from your desktop. Those are 30 minutes. The video can be longer than that. But by 30 minutes, it means like what you're recording within the app, all the separate clips. So
Ah,
definitely cut those down so it's not too overwhelming.
cool. And one more from Sandra. If you have time, can you show us how to download the Windows app?
Unfortunately, I can't because I am on a Mac, but what I will do is send you the instructions on how to do that in the follow-up email. So unfortunately, I am incapable of showing that today from my own computer. Bridget, can you see my O365 window okay?
I can, yep.
Perfect. Thank you. So this is my O365 account. You have likely been here before, but just in case you have not, it is o365.weil.cornell.edu. And if you want to find Clipchamp, there are a couple of ways. One is to go to this menu in the top left, and you can look for your apps. My Clipchamp is right here. It kind of depends on the last time you used it. If you don't see it here, you can always click more apps and find it that way. But probably the easiest way is just typing in Clipchamp at the very top and clicking on it. So boom, this is the Clipchamp introductory dashboard. And you'll see a few things here at the very top that you can start, like screen recordings, camera recordings. We're going to do a video from beginning to end. And so that's going to be a video project. You'll also see as I scroll down here, these are the most recent things I've been working on. And these are all of my different video clips. So this is where you can find things, although you can certainly search at the top again in the search bar and find video files that you've been working on. So let's start a new video project. And it's just going to take a couple seconds to load. Perfect. So this is my Clipchamp dashboard. And let's kind of go through a lay of the land of what all this is, because there's a lot of buttons, but don't be intimidated. It's not too bad. So here on the left, we have all of the different options that we can add to our videos. So I've got my media, which is where I'm going to add all of my assets. And then we can record, add text, add music, add those stock videos or footage, graphics, transitions. We're going to go through all of these. Here in this rectangular area is where I'm going to upload all of my assets. So these might be videos I've already taken, photos that I've already taken, maybe narration, sound that I've already done. Anything that I already have for my video is going to go right here. In the big area in the middle, this is going to be my preview window. As I'm editing my video, I can watch it as many times as I need to make sure things look like I want them to. And then this section down here is called the timeline. Think of the timeline as a map of what your video looks like. So what comes first? What comes next? What comes after that? That's one way to look at the timeline. And the other thing you could do with the timeline is layer things on top of a scene. So I could have a screen recording and then have sound layered on top of that, like a voice narration. We'll get into that in just a second. And then here on the right, I have some customizations to further just make my video look cool, like playing around with the sound, adding filters and effects, things like that. The first thing that you want to do is go to the top left and name your video. Clipchamp is going to call it video project with a number, and that's going to get very confusing for you. So I'm going to call this Clipchamp Tech Tuesday. I am actually going to create a demo video about Clipchamp and how to use Clipchamp. So it's going to be kind of Inception-like, but it'll work out. Don't worry. Okay, that's the first thing you do. Name your video. The second thing you do is determine the aspect ratio of your video. If I head over here to the top right, you'll see there's a little rectangle that says 16:9. That is the ratio that is common for most videos. If you watch a YouTube video or just kind of any video, it's usually horizontal, and that's how most video formats are. That being said, if you want to create a video for social media that people can view from their phones, a lot of times that's vertical, even square. So if I click on this aspect ratio, they all actually appear underneath. And if I hover over one, like the 9:16, which is just flipped over, it'll say this is good for Instagram stories, TikTok, and mobile videos. If I go to that 1:1, that's perfect for Instagram. If I do this 4x5, it's good for a lot of social media. This one's good for Pinterest and Facebook, and this is a wide screen that's good for a more cinematic feel. So you certainly have a lot of options here, but definitely decide ahead of time, where am I going to put this video? Am I going to put it on YouTube? Am I going to put it on Instagram? That really determines the aspect ratio that you should start with, so you have those borders already figured out for you before you start. I'm going to stick with the 16:9 since it's what everybody's used to seeing. And now, step 3, I have to start uploading my media. So right here in this big purple button, I'm going to do import media. And I've got a couple options. I can import it from my desktop, or I can actually go into my OneDrive, which is the nice part about that Microsoft integration. And that's actually where I have my test files. So I'm going to give it a minute to go into OneDrive. Perfect. And I believe I have them under, there we go, Tech Tuesday and Clipchamp. And I've got 2 files here. One is a talking head video of me. The other is a screen recording that I've done in advance. So I'm going to select both of those, and it's going to take a couple seconds, but they're uploading into my media file area. And if I want to add any of these files into my video, all I have to do is click and drag and drop it in the timeline, and that's it. So now that this clip is here, you can see that there's a preview window. That is me. And if I play it, welcome to Microsoft Clipchamp. My name's Vanessa, and I'll be taking you through the ins and outs of Clipchamp to create your own videos. So that wasn't the worst, although I don't like looking at my own videos. There are certainly ways that I can tweak this to make it better. I noticed at the end that I looked down briefly because I was turning off my camera. There it is. And I don't really like the way that looks. So this white bar that I'm using back and forth to scrub through the video is a playhead. So you can just use this to go through your video back and forth and play it from where you'd like, or you can actually use it to pinpoint where you want to edit a scene. So right about here is when I start looking down. I'm going to line it up right there. And I've got these tools here right above my timeline that I can use to edit the video further. I actually want to cut that part out where I look down a little bit. So I'm going to click these scissors called split. And if I move the playhead out of the way, you'll now see that that little tiny clip where I look down is now separate from the rest of this clip here. And I can move it somewhere else if I needed to, things like that. But I actually just don't want it in the video at all. So I can actually just hit delete on my keyboard, or even hit this trash can icon and get rid of that entirely. If I made a mistake, I can always undo, so it's not the end of the world. And I can just go back and play that again if I wanted to make sure that I got everything in that scene that I wanted to take out entirely. When I click this scene again, you can also see there are options to duplicate a scene. There are scenarios where you may want to, duplicate certain parts of your video. And there's also this little purpley star option called AI suggestions. If I click on that, this is what I was telling you about earlier, where it's going through my video and finding where I might have awkward pauses. And if I click on it, it'll actually go through it and tidy those up just a little bit for me, which is really nice. Another way that you can edit, especially the beginnings and end of a video, if something is a little too awkward, or like I think at the beginning of this video, I do like a breath to get started talking, which is common. A lot of people do that. I can actually just pull it in slightly to get rid of that, and then line it up at the beginning again and get started. So that's how you can make quick little edits to a video clip, and then just use the playhead to scrub back and forth and see what it looks like here in the preview. I want to add another clip to this. So here's my other clip of the screen recording. I'm going to just click and drag that and put it right behind the first video clip. So if I take the playhead over and hit play, meta inception, I am doing literally the same thing in this video clip that I just added. You'll notice there is no sound to this video clip. I actually wanted to add some narration explaining what is happening in this clip. And you can do that here under record and create. So I'm going to click on that. And there are a few ways that I can add background narration. One is text to speech. which is where I can type something in here and a voice that is programmed into Clipchamp will just say it for me. You'll see that there are a lot of options. You have male voices, female voices, voices that sound young, voices in other languages, which is really cool. I'm just going to very quickly type hello, and you can preview it in this voice, Ava Multilingual.
Hello.
That's not the worst, although I find it to be a little robotic. However, there are people who just don't like the sound of their voice and would rather have some type of professional sounding voice than nothing at all. And you'll notice that because I added, I'll put save really quick. Because I added some text to speech, that is now in my timeline where I had my playhead. So when I play this clip, the sound will be right on top of it.
Hello.
But that's not really what I want to hear in the video. I just did it for demonstration purposes, so I can always just delete that clip by hitting delete. I want to add my own sound and my own narration. So another option I have aside from text to speech is going to webcam. And this is going to briefly show me on camera. But I actually want to go over to audio right here in this tab. And this is where I can record my voice, no screen on the camera, and add that as background narration. I believe, Michele, you asked about the 30-minute duration. That's here for video and audio recording. That's what the limit is. So you'll see it here at the top. And you can record multiple videos, but it's going to lock you in at that 30, which I feel is probably too much, but just my opinion. I want to add a quick audio of me talking about what I'm doing in the screen recording. If I have it memorized, I can just hit this microphone and start talking. I do not have it memorized. So Clipchamp has this really cool feature if I go into more options, and I can add a teleprompter and copy and paste whatever it is I want to say, or just type it in directly. I'm just going to say Clipchamp includes drag and drop pictures, actually tools to make video editing easy. All right. That is what I would like to say in that part of the video. I'm actually going to just move it slightly over so that I can click on this recording button, and let's see what it does. Clipchamp includes drag and drop tools to make video editing easy. All right, that was my recording. I can review it over here in this window. Clipchamp includes drag and drop tools to make video editing easy. If I hated that, I could always retake it and record it again. But if I'm fine with it, I can just click save and edit. So now Clipchamp added my recording, but they added it to the back of my timeline, which is not what I want. I want it to play simultaneously with this clip here. So all I have to do is click and drag and line it up right underneath. Let me make sure they're actually aligned. There we go. So now this sound should play with the video clip. Clipchamp includes drag and drop tools to make video editing easy. You'll notice that this clip right here is much longer than the sound that I just recorded. I can always line them up if I don't have much that goes right after, and make sure they're aligned, or I could just keep talking to make sure that it aligns with that clip. So the timeline is allowing you to create that map that makes the most sense for your video. Let's do some other cool things to the video. If I go back to the first clip of me talking, it'll be easier if I keep it there. Let's go to the beginning. If I click on any clip, I can actually do some further adjustments on the right-hand side. I can play around with the audio. If my voice was a little too low, I can bump it up so it's much louder. I could do fade ins and fade outs, which is kind of nice. And there's tons of filters here for different colors that you can play around with and see what you like, and special effects. So like, for example, this VHS one, if I wanted to look like I was in like an 80s kidnapping movie, I could certainly put a VHS filter on it, and it has that grainy, staticky effect that many of us are familiar with. I can also, actually, let me go back and get rid of that since it's a little creepy. I can also adjust the colors. So when I first recorded this video, I was in a pretty well lit room. If it was a little darker, I could actually play with the exposure and lighten it up a little bit, play with the contrast if I needed to. And even if I looked a little washed out, could play with the colors. So I bump up the colors on screen and the temperature, and even play around with transparency and blends to darken or do certain things. There's tons you could do. I definitely recommend playing around with it. And if you don't like anything that you played around with, just hit reset and it goes back to how it was. I can also play around with the speed. So right now it's at the speed I recorded. I could certainly bump it up so it's super fast if you wanted to have a quick play of whatever you did, or you can even drag it down to slow-mo. So you can play with all of the clips and just test out different filters to make it look exactly like you need it to. Another thing that I would like to do, these were the only 2 clips I had, let's say, and I want to add more things to my video. Let's head over to stock video. And this is where I can find professional looking clips for my video. And same thing with stock images. There's tons of options here that I can search and categories. If I go back to stock video as an example, I can search for something like cat, let's say. And oh, I have this really great professional looking video of a cat that's just staring menacingly at me. That's perfect for my video. I'm going to add it to my timeline just by hitting this green plus symbol. And it added it to the top, which is okay, because I can always click and drag it to the place I want it to go, which is right after this clip here. And if I scroll back down and move the playhead, now I'm at the cat. And that's part of my video. Really easy. It took a couple of seconds. And I can edit this just like I edited the other clips. If I want to make it shorter and just have a little snippet of it, I can do that as well. And I could always add narration again if I wanted to. I did add some screen recording earlier. The way I did that, if I go back into record and create, there's a couple of ways to do screen recordings, which are great for tutorials, by the way. If you're trying to show somebody how to do something online, for example, or how to use an app. There's 2 ways. One is screen and camera. That is like a picture-in-picture thing where you'll see my screen and what I'm doing, but also a video of me talking. That may be an option that you're looking for. If I just wanted to record my screen, I would stick to this one. And I'm actually going to record my second screen, which you cannot see, but you will see what I'm doing in just a second. I'm going to select the entire screen. And I'm recording right now. You'll see the time is going by, ticking by. All I'm doing is moving my cursor on the screen. And now I'm going to hit stop recording. And I'm recording right now. You'll see the time is going by, ticking by. All I'm doing is moving my cursor on the screen. And now I'm going to hit stop recording. Okay, that was the clip it saved for my second screen. That's fine for me. I'm actually going to hit save. And that's going to be added to my timeline as well. Now, you'll notice that it picked up me talking, which I didn't necessarily want in this clip. I just wanted it to grab me doing stuff on the screen. If a clip has sound, there will be a little sound icon at the very front of the clip. If you don't want the sound to play at all, just mute it by clicking it. And now that clip will play without my voice, which is great. I can always re-record my voice on top of it to sound a little more professional and not what I was just kind of messing around with. And I can take that back and do any editing that I need to. Let's talk about text right here. At the very beginning of the video, actually, let me grab that playhead, go all the way back so that it appears in the preview. In the very beginning, I introduced myself. And a lot of times it's helpful, especially when you have talking head videos, to have text of, who that person is, what their name is. It's just a visual reinforcement of who people are, or even just captions of what people are seeing on screen. So let's head over to, let's go to graphics first. There's plenty of graphics that you can add to a video. I actually want to add a shape. I'm going to see more. And I kind of want something rectangular looking. Here we go, squares and rectangles. I'm gonna hit see more. I actually kind of like this one. So I'm gonna add it to my timeline and it's right here at the bottom. If I scrub back, you'll notice that you do not see the box on screen. This has to do again with the timeline and how you layer things. So right now, imagine visually just layering. This clip is on top of this graphic right here, which is why you can't see it. However, if I pull the graphic up and put it on top, now you can see it on top of my video. And right within the video preview window, I can click and drag, resize it, maybe put it in the corner. And if I go to text and add a heading in the same window, did it add it? Nope, I didn't push the button. There we go. So there's my text now in my timeline at the very top of the layer. And I'm going to click it and just type my name. And I can play around with the font. I can play around with the color. Let's make it dark so I can actually see it. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try again. I think it worked that time. There we go. Click and drag my name over here. And I actually want to line these up so they appear and disappear at the same time. So now when I play that video, welcome to Microsoft Clipchamp. My name's Vanessa, and I'll be taking you through the ins and outs of Clipchamp to create your own video. So you'll see now that I layered these graphics and this text on top of my video, and I can play around with how long they stay on screen. I can have them fade in and fade out from right here in the corner or add effects. There's tons of things you can do to tweak graphics and text so they appear exactly how you need them to on screen, and they kind of enter and exit as needed. So we got through all of these here on the left, except for transitions. Transitions are little animations that appear in between video clips. So really quickly, to show you what I mean, I'm going to go to the end of the talking head clip, and you'll notice that when it's time to switch between one clip and the other, it's just instant, boom. And that's not bad, but sometimes it's nicer to have like a more gentle transition from one clip to another. It doesn't feel like whiplash when you watch it. So if I go to transitions, I can actually choose from a lot of preloaded animations of how I want to transition from one scene to the other. If I hover over this push right, for example, it's showing me exactly what that's going to look like from one scene to the next. And all I have to do is select it and drag it in between the two clips. So now when I play that, you'll see that little subtle transition that takes me over to the next scene. That transition was pretty fast. If I click the transition option over here, I can actually play with the duration of it and, pick other transitions if I didn't like that one. But I can make it a little longer, maybe bump it up to like 1 second. So it's a little more obvious that the scene is transitioning. There we go. But that's really up to you and how you want to create your videos. So we got through all the options here. We got through most of the options here, except for this one important one at the top, which I always recommend looking at, captions. We live in a world where there are lots of people who are deaf or hard of hearing. And quite frankly, even people who aren't deaf and hard of hearing really like captions. I personally do. It helps me concentrate on the video and understand what I am watching. What's really great about Clipchamp is that if I'm done with my video and all the sound in it, if I hit transcribe media, Clipchamp will actually start translating all the text that it hears or sound that it hears. And if it takes a few seconds for this one because it's a very short video with very little sound, but here is that script right here. And this isn't finalized. I can certainly make tweaks to it. You'll notice where I said ins and outs, for some reason, Microsoft decided to capitalize it all. I can just type in there and make any edits that I would like to the captions. Now, these captions are playing right on top of the video, which may be your preference. A lot of times there are people who will be using a platform like YouTube, even Panopto, tons of different video platforms, and they may not want the captions to be on top of the video the whole time. They may want to make that optional for people to turn on and off when they're watching it. You can certainly hide the captions in the video, but then download the script and then upload it to whatever platform you're using so that those captions appear when somebody wants to turn it on and off. Now, finally, let's just pretend this video is amazing. No edits, no notes. We're ready to go. I can do a couple things. I can share this video with colleagues to make sure that it looks okay. I can type in some names from people from Cornell and have them take a look and add a message, and it would send it to them via email and they could take a look at it. If I hit this gear here, I can make some other changes of who I want it to be able to see it. I could do everybody in Weill Cornell who has the link. I could change it to certain people who have existing access or people I can choose, and even change the permissions of how much access they get. So if I know, for example, that Bridget is using Clipchamp and I want to give her editing access to make her own changes, I can give her editing access, apply, and then even copy that link and send it to her. I can put it in Teams, I can put it in Outlook, whatever works. If I am done with my video and want to export it somewhere, all I have to do is hit export. You choose the quality of the video. Certainly 1080p is the highest, and I would recommend it if it's the final product. If it's just a draft and you want to save it as a smaller file size, you can certainly choose one of these options as well. I can also choose where to save my video. So I can save it in my OneDrive account by making sure Save in the Cloud is toggled on. If I wanted to save it to my desktop, I could actually turn that off and just hit export. And now it's going to render my video very quickly because it's pretty short. It's just going to take a few seconds. It's going pretty fast, actually. There's the cat looking great. It's the most amazing video I've ever made. And it's just about done. There we go. And then once it's done, you just download that MP4 to your device and you can upload it anywhere that makes sense. YouTube, Panopto, your website, wherever you need to put it. You could just take that clip and put it anywhere. So let me go back to keep editing. So we went through everything in a nutshell. We've got about 10 minutes left. Are there any questions? Or Josh, did I miss anything during the demonstration that you would like to point out that I should show?
No, I think that was great. A couple of people are asking about access. When you hit it the first time, it can take a second to propagate. I did double check everybody's licensing that mentioned it in the chat, and it all looks good. So I would go ahead and hit it once. If you are experiencing any issues, give it about an hour or two. Make sure that it's propagating. And if you still have that issue, please reach back out to me directly. I'll take a look for you. But everything should be good on that end. Otherwise, I think you did a great job. Nothing to add from here.
Yeah, I'll be sure to add Josh's email to the follow-up message that I send to everybody. So if you do have questions about Clipchamp outside of the guides that I'm already sending you, like if you have issues with your account, you'll know how to get in touch with Josh. Bridget, are there any questions that are popping up that I can answer while we're here?
There are some that came up during your demo that I believe were answered, but one that came up a couple times, you touched on it, but maybe you could show us really quickly how to do the feature where you have a small square at the bottom where you're narrating a screencast.
Oh, sure. Let me go. It's right here in record and create. I'm going to do screen and camera. So this is the picture in picture. So that's me in the corner and in the spotlight. Sorry. If I do select a screen to record, I'm going to do entire screen again. You're probably not going to see my second screen. La 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 la. I'm just pretending I'm doing stuff. I'm going to hit stop recording. But now you're going to see what that looks like. See my second screen. La 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 la. I'm just pretending I'm doing stuff. I'm going to hit stop recording. So that's what that looks like, that picture in picture. If you're doing a lecture, for example, this is a really great option. Perhaps you have your PowerPoint slides, displayed on screen, and you're just kind of hanging out in the corner in that little video window. That's certainly a really great way. Also great for like any type of tutorial. If you want to make it more personal and just have your video hanging out in the bottom. So it's more personalized. People know who you are, especially if you end up making a ton of videos. It could be a really nice option to add.
Great. Thank you so much. Let me go through and see what other questions came up. Can you copy single frames and extend them over a period of time, like pausing on a frame for several seconds? When making tutorial videos, I often pause on a frame to give users time to read the text on the screen.
I would actually, instead of making it a video, you can actually add images like screenshots or photos. I do that a lot in videos that I create. I don't know if I have an image, but let me grab a stock image really quick. I'm just gonna do this toucan. Why not? Add to timeline. I'm gonna add it to the back. I'll get rid of the cat to make this easier. Okay. So let me grab the playhead. So this is an image, and it's just static. There's no movement whatsoever. But I can certainly grab this and lengthen how long that image appears on screen. So if you have a screenshot of something that you want people to be able to read, you can certainly drag that to as long as you want. And even though something is static on screen, like, having a photo, you can actually add movement just to make it a little more engaging, add some dynamics there. If I go into effects, I can add like a slow zoom. Did I select that? Yeah. There we go. So you could be talking and it's coming at you, it's just think visually what you like to see. A lot of times when something just hanging out on screen and there's no movement, it gets to be a little old and stale. You definitely, again, like I was mentioning, people appreciate things that are a little punchier in the editing process. So unless something has to be on screen a long time, think of ways that you can make it more interesting, like adding those Zoom special effects, maybe adding captioning, maybe adding a graphic, just to make sure people's eyes have something to look at.
Great. One more that you also may have touched on, but maybe we can go over it one more time. Is it possible to add background music over a voice recording or behind a voice recording?
Yes, so I can layer sounds. It doesn't just have to be the recording. So if I go to music and sound effects, I can add like EDM to this for some reason and preview it. It takes a second. There we go. We can have like club music here. Let's add it to the timeline. And usually if you're gonna add, ooh, it kind of went all the way to the end. Let me grab it. I'm just clicking and dragging it so it matches the whole video. Usually when you add anything that's like background music to a video, you want to put it at the bottom of your layers because again, it is the background. It's just going to be playing while your whole video is going. If you want it to play for the whole video, you got to make sure it lines up. Obviously, this song is really, really long. And you also don't want the background music to like overshadow anything that's playing, especially your own voice. So if I click on this sound, I believe I can go to audio and actually like bump the volume really low. So you kind of have at least something in the background. It's good to have some kind of sound and background music, especially there are a lot of tutorials out there, for example, that don't have any narration. It's just like showing you. They're really quick videos. But if it's just you looking at what's going on screen and there's no sound, a lot of times it's a little jarring, I have to say. So background music is a really great way to fill that up so it doesn't seem awkward. And you've got a bunch of options here within Clipchamp, but like I mentioned earlier, I will send in the follow-up email a link to the YouTube audio library, which is free and has like thousands of sounds that you can use, not just background music, but even sound effects that you can just pop in your videos. It is probably one of the best resources that I could recommend when you start making your own videos.
Great. People are excited. Thanks, Vanessa. I think we answered all the questions other than some access stuff, but Josh is all over that.
Yes. Thank you, Josh. And thank you, Bridget. Again, I will have Josh's email in the follow-up message that I plan to send by the end of today. Please take a look at it. It's going to have a ton of links on how to use Clipchamp as well as this recording. So if you want to go back and kind of look at anything that I demonstrated, you'll have it, to look at as long as you want. But those links are going to be really helpful. They're going to be from Microsoft and some options from like LinkedIn Learning and things like that. So you have different options and different tutorials so that you can figure out what it exactly is that you're trying to do. We will definitely have a resource to help you find the answer. I'll also include resources on things like which file formats are accepted in Clipchamp when you upload media, as well as those recommendations of if you run into issues when you're trying to export your file, what can you do to make sure that it renders exactly as you need it to. But I do see that we're at time, so I'll respect your time today and bid you all a great rest of the day. And if you have any questions, feel free to just reply to that email that I send you later today. And, we'll do our best to answer all of your questions. But thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time to learn more about Clipchamp. Have a great rest of the day.